Hello, I'm Rod Schaub. I work for Frontier Extension District, and today we're going to do a series of short videos that deal with electric fence. The first video that we're going to do is one on why do we want to try electric fence, or will electric fence work for me at my ranch? And you know, for years and years and years, we've went through and we've used barbed wire, we've used woven wire fence. When we get closer to the corral, we use pipe, or maybe we use plank fencing. Those types of fences are all physical barrier fences. In other words, the cow can't jump over it, can't go through it, or can't crawl under it. So it's a physical barrier. It's there to stop that cow from moving to the next pasture. Today what we want to talk a little bit about is electric fence. An electric fence is a psychological barrier. You want that cow, when she touches it the very first time, you want her to know that she is to be staying inside of that. You want it to water her eyes and buckle her knees, and then you know that that cow will learn. Recently I was reading a book that Temple Grandin wrote, and it talked about how this cow wouldn't go into the squeeze chute. She'd go up the alley, but she wouldn't enter the squeeze chute. Well, even with a prod, she would go into the squeeze chute, but then she wouldn't put her head in the neck regardless, or in the neck catch, regardless of how many times you give her electric shock. And she had learned that when she puts her neck in that squeeze, that head catch, that it's going to cause pain. And so they can understand pain, they understand, they can remember. And so this electric fence, we want them to remember that that it's hot and that they aren't to touch it. And really, you know, when we talk about electric fence, when we talk about any fence, any good fence is a fence that keeps the livestock where we want those cattle to stay at. So since we're talking about electric fence, there's two types of electric fence. There's permanent electric fence and there's temporary electric fence. Most of the permanent fence is done with 12.5 gauge high tensile wire. It's class 3 galvanized, so it lasts for a really long time. We've all put up barbed wire, and after 15 or 20 years it starts to rust. Well, with the high tensile wire, it's got that class 3 galvanized on it, and it is going to last for a long time, maybe 50 years before it starts to rust. It's also very easy to put up and some of those kinds of things. The other thing that you can use for permanent fence would be aircraft cable, and that is used quite often too, and it's easier to take down if you needed to take down a permanent fence. The temporary fence is often done with polywire, and the polywire actually has different metals woven into that, and that is what provides the shock. It's very easy to take up and put down. I have a farm about 3/4 of a mile from here. We'll put up fake temporary electric fence all the way over, and we can run the cows up and down the road, and they don't push the fence because they know that it could be hot, even though in this instance it isn't. So it comes back to, you know, there's pros and cons about using electric fence. And I can remember as a kid growing up, we did everything wrong. We used 17.5 gauge wire, we used rebar for ground rods, we didn't use any clamps. We'd just take the copper wire and wrap around the ground rod. When the grass got tall, you know, it would short out the fence. We all had really bad experiences at that time. And I think we don't understand the changes that have been made, and we're not as familiar with electric fence as we maybe should be. Some of the pros is it's really less expensive. If you were going to build a mile of 5-wire barbed wire, it costs you somewhere around $10,000. If you build a single wire permanent electric fence, it's going to be just a fraction of that. A 4,000-foot roll of high tensile wire is going to cost somewhere around $85 to $100. Another thing is you're also going to put a post in every 60 feet rather than every 16 feet. So it's going to be more least expensive. It's going to be durable. It's going to last a long time. It's fairly easy to install because you don't have all the posts that you have to put in. And it's also the most flexible, especially if you're talking about temporary fence. So I hope today I've intrigued you a little bit to look into electric fence, and I'm going to follow this up with a whole series of electric fence issues like the charger, the ground rods, the lightning protection, the fence, those kinds of things. So until next time, this is Rod Schaub. Thank you.